Welcome to the Coffee Break Show. I'm Vickie Helm. Listen, today is an interesting day. I know you're thinking this is the Coffee Break Show, and I love the Coffee Break Show, but this is a pre-recorded show. So today we're going to be interviewing Matt DiMaio and DiMaio.
Correct both ways.
All right, I love that. That's either potato, patata.
He's it's funny. I say DiMaio. My daughter says DiMiaio.
Love it. Okay, so today we're going to be on this live show with him today, and we are not going to, you're going to be commenting. You can get a hold of him. Everything will be in the thread notes just like normal, but you will not be able to ask him questions live. So if you put your question in and you're like, they're not answering me, it's because we are in your future. That's right now. All right, just like always, we got to hear the music. I'll see you in a second. You're on the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. This is brought to you by Metadime Digital Network. Today, we are going to talk about something that I am so wicked fascinated about. And I'm going to be talking to Matt because everyone believes a lie. And the lie they believe is that as you get older, you lose your ability to remember. You lose that. And I am with somebody today who is actually going to help us utilize our own mind to remember more. And I want to welcome you to the Coffee Break Show, Matt. Thanks for putting up with us already.
I am absolutely delighted to be here, and thank you. I know that we had some scheduling organization to be able to plow through, and we did it, and here we are. So thank you very much for having me as a guest.
I'm so excited about this subject because I believe that, you know how they always say you only use 10% of your potential and that you always have so much more potential. I think a lot of our potential is kept in our mind and our brains as well. And I just have to know, I absolutely have to know, how did you get into this topic? I mean, what happened? How did you become the memory and the remembering dude?
First of all, a lot of times, because I do a lot of public demonstrations of mental power, like, for example, I can go into a room with any number of people in it, and I'll meet them before my presentation, and I'll be able to call them all by name from stage. And it doesn't matter whether there's 50 or 100 people in the room. And there's videos of me on YouTube doing this. As a matter of fact, I'm just about to release a new one with just a crazy number of people in the audience. But I want to take you all the way back to the year 1979. And I began work for a chain of computer programming schools in New Jersey.
Wow.
And now in 1979, there was no such thing as a personal computer.
That's
it wouldn't
right.
be until August of 81 until IBM would release their first PC. And back in 79, Carter was in the White House. The economy was in turmoil. We had lines to buy gasoline around the block.
I remember.
And that was a great time to be in the career training school.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great time to be in that business. And there was this buzz about this new upcoming thing called computers. Now, the world at that time was running on punch cards, which were these little cardboard things that had rectangular holes punched in them. Anyway, so I took a job at this little school based in Union, New Jersey. And my income was dependent on our school collecting tuitions. So I was responsible for enrolling students. And if a student dropped out, my check got a chargeback. I got penalized for somebody dropping out. So I became financially motivated to reduce the dropout rate at my secondary education training school. So I myself am a college dropout. I finished 2 years at Villanova University, decided I wanted to become a rock and roller, decided I wanted to become a professional musician. And I've worked full-time, not full-time, but I've been a working musician for decades. But back then I decided that I didn't want to do college anymore. So I couldn't use my own success as a student as an example. I researched everything I could find on the subject of what makes somebody a good student. I bought every audio tape and every book, and I attended a bunch of seminars. And then I began to distill that down to a 90-minute talk that I called What School Never Taught You About Learning. And I would talk about how to take notes. Go ahead. I cut you off.
No, I said it interesting because, this just keep going. It's really interesting because I had a bit of ADHD and I had to learn how to learn. And I was like, he's going there. And I wanted to listen to you talk about how people learn or what you discovered.
So I began to talk about all of the stuff that I wish somebody had taught me when I was in high school or in my early years of college. So, for example, I talked about how do you actually effectively take notes rather than using yellow highlighters or underlining. How everybody tells you to pay attention. How do you do it?
Yeah.
Is there a system for being able to pay attention? How do you remember stuff? So I got really fascinated with all of the memory part of this. And so I began to do stunts on doing, impossible feats of memory. But how do you read a textbook differently than the way you read a novel? So I distilled all these ideas down to about 90 minutes. And about 2 weeks into class, I began to teach it to these students. And the reason I waited 2 weeks is because by then they were already in enough pain that they wanted somebody to go, holy mackerel, this computer programming stuff is harder than I thought.
Yeah.
And then I would come in and talk about that. Then I would repeat the same class to the same group of students about a month before they graduated as a refresher. Well, not only did I really seriously impacted the dropout rate. We had very few dropouts. But much more importantly, I dramatically increased the job placement rate. Because when these young people would go out on an interview, they actually knew what they were talking about. They actually learned the material. But that's when the magic happened. I began to get calls from the companies that hired my graduates, and they were asking, what are you guys doing at that school that's different? Because we've hired people from your school before, or we've hired students from competing schools. Why are you guys doing so well on the job? And the students gave me the unfortunate nickname of Matt the Memory Man. That's a tough thing to live up to. Oh, if he meets you once, he'll remember you forever. No, but I'm pretty darn good at it. But anyway, so I began to get calls from these companies, and I started getting invitations from professional organizations like the DPMA, the Data Processing Managers Association, and the ASM, the Association of Systems Managers, to be an after-dinner speaker. So they would have their business meeting, and they would have their chapter meeting, and they would go through the notes, and then they would serve dinner. And around dessert time, they would invite me up as the after dinner entertainment. And that's when I began to call myself the Enter Trainer.
Love that.
And I came up with a catchy title for my talk on how to give yourself a mind like a computer. And I would do stunts. I would memorize a deck of playing cards. I would hand out 10 copies of the same issue of Newsweek or Time magazine. Back then, it wasn't a pamphlet like it is today.
That's right. It was a real newspaper, real magazine.
And people would say, okay, what's on page 167? What's on page 52? And I'd call out. And then I would teach them some basic memory techniques. Mostly, I would teach the 3 causes of forgetery, which I'm going to talk about today. What causes you to forget stuff? Because if you understand what the problem is, you're more than halfway to solving it. And then I would close every presentation by doing the same technique. I would say, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for making me feel so very welcome here today. And as I call off your name, please stand up. And I'd start in the back corner of the room. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Pal. Thank you, John. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Sally. And I'd go around the room and call everybody by name. And I always got a standing ovation because they were standing anyway. And by remembering everybody in the room's name like that, first of all, provided a level of of respect, admiration, and credibility,
Oh, yeah.
because these were smart people that I was talking
Yeah.
with, and none of them could do that.
And none of them could do it. I was just thinking that myself because, I have spoken on all the stages with all the big names and everything else, audiences from, 50, 100, 3,000, whatever the room was. There's no way I could remember all the names. No way. And I sometimes literally have a PA who stood behind me and literally would help me remember people's names as I went by and kind of whispered them to me, etc. And I find it so fascinating that you could remember even, come on, even 20 people's names. How many times you go to a dinner party and there's 12 people in the room and you meet everybody, and at the end of dinner, you don't know 3 people's names because you can't remember them, or probably more, even more than that. And I find that this thing that you're talking about, what a great networking tool for any room just to remember somebody's name.
Let me tell you, one thing that I frequently talk about is I believe that having the ability to be good at remembering people's names is the single most important interpersonal communication skill that you can have. And it has enormous benefits. First of all, it saves you from a lot of embarrassment. But when you can walk into the room and call everybody in a party or everybody in a networking event or everybody in your business meeting, when you know everybody's name, it gives you a level of confidence that's truly unshakable. But even more than that, other people look at you differently. The level of respect they have for you, the level of admiration they have for you. You make them feel good about themselves when you can recognize somebody by calling them by name. They feel better about themselves.
That's true. That's true.
And as a matter of fact, that's why it was the subject of my first book. Am I allowed to throw a plug in here?
Oh,
Shameless
of
plug.
course.
Time for a
I have
shameless
so
plug.
many books. You got to put your book. Bring it in.
Oh,
This
wait a minute.
way.
There it is.
There
How to
it is.
remember people.
How to remember people's names.
Take a
You know
wild
what's
guess as to what that's
interesting
about.
about this is this one skill that we're talking about. And I'm talking to every single entrepreneur out there, everybody who is a salesperson, etc. What he said earlier really caught my eye, and it was that he solved the problem that he had in his business of attrition, or people just falling off the system, simply by adding this memory tool. And it navigated into his business so well that his students got the training in the beginning, in the end, actually learned it. It made his business more valuable. It made his influence as to where the graduates were coming from more valuable. So while you're sitting there and you're listening, going, yeah, I remember names, this isn't about just remembering names or remembering. It's actually how to give you the edge that you need in order to outdo your competition right now, just simply by being present because you remember. And this to me is such a key influence piece right here. And if you are networking, if you're dependent on sales, if you're not able to connect with somebody in such a way that they are unwilling to do business with you, what he is doing is creating trust through remembering, creating likability through remembering, creating absolute cash flow by remembering. This is an absolute business skill. Don't BS yourself and talk yourself out of this right now. This is one of the most important skills you can have if you want more success, if you want more money, if you want better relationships, if you want more sales. Need I say more? And as we go on talking with Matt about this, one of the things that I really want to know, because he's already given us an example of how it helped him, how it helped his students, how it helped. It's got a ripple effect in this when we continue the conversation. I want to go back to finishing the conversation about where you began, when you began to implement this. And you said something that I thought was interesting. You said, in my school, I implemented this in the beginning, and then suddenly at the end, where you went over it again. And I was so curious. I wanted to know, why did you do that? What was your purpose? I came out
What
better than it was supposed to, but what was your purpose when you started it?
By the way, thank you for those absolutely laser targeted observations you just made about the value of this. I do a lot of interviews, and I got to tell you, not everybody gets it to the extent that you just did. So I really want to thank you for that level of understanding and clarity.
I
And,
really believe it though. I really believe what I'm saying. That's
that,
why this is the
that's
most important
clear.
thing. It's about being able to create credibility and presence with someone. And when you can basically just simply remember someone's name, they feel seen. They feel like you were present with them and they trust you more. It's such a basic ability. It's like everybody is so busy on closing the deal. Well, if you want to close the deal, you have to be present with the person you want to close the deal with. And number one thing you want to be present is, what is their name? If you can't remember it, and I have, honestly, I'm going to be as transparent as I can. Have I screwed that up? Oh, yeah. I have been at the closing table and not remembered their name. And I had to wait till they said their name. And I was like, oh, John, quietly in my head, John. And to close that deal, if you can't say somebody's name, you're not going to do business with them. You're not going to build rapport with them. And this to me is such a really just a booming skill set that I think a lot of entrepreneurs like to pass by. But you said you were able to do feats of interesting stuff when you were speaking. I want to know, you mentioned the three
Causes of forgetery.
Yes, forgettery. I remember the forgettery, but I didn't remember the other piece of it. I said three
Oh, wait, I
causes.
forgot.
I forgot it was the three causes of forgettery. And I want to talk, what is forgettery and what are the three causes of that? And
Well,
and obviously I want to know if there's a remedy for it.
absolutely. Allow me to back up a half a step.
Mhm.
You know, one of the observations that you made, you talked about how these techniques are important and valuable for improving your bottom line in business, in
Mhm.
sales,
Mhm.
getting results, being able to connect with people. Well, it goes beyond names because right now we live in a world of information overload.
Yeah.
Those who are not prepared, those who are not able to keep up,
Yes.
run the risk of being left behind.
That they don't even run the risk. They are going to be left behind. That's just the game.
Well, that
That's
was
it.
my more polite way of saying it.
I know you were being polite.
Rather than, listen, you.
I'm throwing you under the bus right now. If you don't do this, if you don't keep up, you will be left behind.
Well, school didn't, one of my catchphrases is, school tells you what to learn. Matt DiMaio teaches you how to learn it.
Beautiful.
Because they give you a lot of content, but they don't really give you the structure, the formulas, the systems, the tactics, the techniques. But let's jump ahead to the question that you asked about the
Yes.
three causes of forgettery. Because if we understand what the problem is, we're more than halfway to solving it.
Yes.
So
True.
here's
I
why
agree.
people have a bad memory. And rather than talking about memory, I talk about forgettery. What causes you to forget stuff in the first place? Yes, it's a word I coined myself.
I love
And
it.
so and so the first cause of forgettery is that you don't get it. If you
Yes.
don't get it, you can't keep it. To forget is to not get. Like to forego means that, hey, I'm
Yes.
not going there.
That's
To
right.
forget, you don't get it. So, for example, let's talk about names. You're at a party, you're meeting somebody, Robin introduces you to somebody next to them, and they go, hey, I'd like you to meet my friend, Mr. Blah, blah, blah. And you go, hey, yeah, nice to meet you. You have no idea what the name was. And if you don't get it, you can't keep it.
That's true.
So the very first step is to pay attention. So regardless of what it is, whether if you're at a party or a business event and you know that you struggle with names, then when that name is coming to you, a little alarm bell should go off in your head going, okay, here comes that name now. Pay attention, wake up. And then it's a lot easier, because if you get it. Now, sometimes people will have a foreign sounding, or in fact, they do have a
That's right.
foreign name.
Yeah.
I had a technician just come to my house to help me install some new electronic stuff. And his name was one that I had never run into before, because he was from the country of Burundi. And his name was Bima Zubate. And I was like, okay. And so if you don't, but if I wasn't paying attention, I wouldn't have gotten it. The second thing, the second cause of forgetery is you don't care. For example,
That's right.
when this technician came
Oh,
to my
God.
house, because he had a complicated name, a lot of people throughout his life probably just went, yeah, okay, whatever, buddy. But sometimes your listeners may be going, hey, Matt, I care. Well, there's caring, and then there's caring enough to actually do something about it. And so I teach a system of mental filing, where you put stuff away in an orderly fashion so
Mm.
you can find it when you need it. So, for example, I know people who can quote the name of every member of their favorite sports team and all of their great
All the
statistics,
stats and everything else. Yep.
and yet can't remember the wedding anniversary.
It's so true.
So if your mother or your teacher ever wagged their finger at you and went, you can only remember what you want to remember. Well, guess what? They were right.
Yep.
You only remember what you want to remember. And so you have to find a way to be interested. Sometimes people say, oh, that's boring. No, it's not boring. You
true.
are bored.
Yes.
If it's important to you, if you
Don't do it.
understand a reason, you have to make yourself care. Right.
Yes.
But the first two reasons, you don't get it, you don't care. Okay, good. Now I'm getting it, now I care. All right, wonderful. But the third cause of forgetery is the biggest culprit. It makes the first two look tiny by comparison.
Absolutely.
And the third cause of forgetery is that you don't believe. You know what you don't believe? You don't believe you have a super powerful memory right now. You know how I know? Because when I talk to people, I go, oh, I must be getting old. Hey,
Yes.
I'm 70 years old. I'm still out doing professional memory
No
demonstrations.
way. Wow.
I was born in 1952.
Wow.
And I must be getting old. I must be getting the Alzheimer's. Please don't wish that on yourself. That's what my mother had.
No.
Oof. Gee, I can always remember a face, but I can never remember a name. Oh, I'm just terrible at remembering people's names. Well, giving yourself the wrong instructions is just that. Saying to yourself, I am no good at remembering stuff, or I am forgetful, or I have a problem with this. That is not the result of a bad memory. That is the cause.
Yes.
Because if your
That's right.
attitude is, I can't do it anyway, why would you bother to get it?
That's
Why
right.
would you bother to care?
That's right. It's what you're saying to yourself. And trust me, your brain loves to comply. If you say, I suck at this, your brain goes, we suck at this. And that is so important. I want to go back a little bit, because you said something I thought was so important. And I really want to make sure that everybody listening heard what he said. And to me, if you aren't paying attention, you're going to be paying for attention. And this is the issue right now. You're not paying attention right now, so you're going to be paying for it later. Here's the deal. When you are in conversation with someone, I don't care if it's a consumer, I don't care if it's another partner you want to do business with, you want to close that deal. I know from my vast experience in business, buying and selling and moving them, etc., the person who you don't remember feels dismissed, and you have lost the deal. You have lost the deal, because the next thing they're going to think is, you dismiss me over here, you just want my money. Not that you actually give a crap about them or actually trying to work with them. They will feel dismissed. This is why it's so important what he's saying. I have a couple of things that I use for those people who are intimidated, or those people who are what do they call it, introverted. I am not that. I am a out loud, proud, extrovert, and I'm that's just who I am. But when I am engaging with someone and there's a party going on, or there is a lot of noise, or there's a lot of things, because your attention can be, I'm like a squirrel. I'm like, what's over there? What's over there? What's happening here? When you're introduced to somebody, if you didn't hear that name, you have to take an action right then, right then. And what I do is I lean in and I grab their hand and I say your name for me again. And I lean in. I really am forcing myself to be present instead of distracted, because every meeting, you don't know when, but that meeting is going to be productive, especially if you're paying attention. To me, when you do that set and I grab their hand, say that for me again, and they tell me their name. And even when I get on the phone, like I call tech support, and tech support is in India and they have names that I can't understand, I stop up front and I say, I'm sorry, could you say your name again for me? Could you say your name again for me? And they'll say, like, my name is Gujarati and, Natsurajan or something. And you have to, and I say it back to them. Am I saying this right? Like, hi, my name is Deepa Natsurajan. And they say it with me. And then I repeat back this. Hi, I'm Vickie Helm. It's nice to meet you. Even though meeting them is over that phone, it's about connection that we remember people's names from. And when he talked about that, creating that connection, the reason you have success is you can create relationships. Nothing is done without people. I don't give a crap how much you know. It doesn't matter if you can't remember people's names, if you can't be present or in contact with them. This, to me, when you said that, I was like, what are the tips that you use in situations where, let's say, because, a networking event, when you go to a networking event, there could be 200 people or more there. Your job is to go around, and Bob does graphic design, Susie does insurance sales, so and so does this, and you're having to remember name and business. And now business cards are like obsolete. Most of it's like, here's my email number, or you're tapping your phone next to somebody so all your information switches. But how then do you get to the point where you're helping yourself in those situations not look like somebody who's schmoozy, but somebody who wants to connect with somebody? And I bet you could probably remember their passions and their hobbies as well, because that's you.
I've taken this strategy or this technique to just to extreme levels. And so when I MC big events and people see me do this, it's like a Martian landed in the room.
Yeah.
But it is a system. I wasn't born with a special power. I don't have any kind of a special IQ or anything like that. This is a mechanical system. I often equate it to learning how to ride a bicycle. Nobody's born knowing how to ride a bicycle.
True.
Somebody shows you how. Once you get the hang of it, you can always do it. Even if you've been away from riding a bike for a long, long time, it might take you a minute or two to get the hang of it again. But pretty soon, you're off down the road. Well, since we're talking so much about names, let me give your audience a couple of tips that'll make it easier. All right. So first of all, if all you do is overcome the 3 causes of forgetery, get the name, and that's what you did with your tech support in India. You made sure you get it. One thing I'll do, because if I don't understand somebody because their accent is too heavy, or it's just a name that I've just never heard before, like the guy that came to my house, I mean, okay. Now, you talk about Indian names. My wife is originally of Indian heritage. And here in the Tampa Bay area, which is where I'm based, I recently did a presentation for the Indo-US Chamber of Commerce. And when I went around the room and called everybody by name there, I didn't have Bobs and Freds and Marys
That's
and
right. You
Sues.
don't.
I had people with 3 and 4 syllable
Rajesh.
names.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, and again, there's a video of me on my YouTube channel doing this stuff. But the point is that there is a system to being able to do it. So here are here's the nutshell of how it's done. So first of all, understand that the way we learn stuff is by connection. If you understand, or if anybody has a medical background or has ever studied, you know what synapses are. And that's what connects the chemical signals in your brain to your physical body. They're connectors. Well, we connect stuff together. Now, when I was a kid, we used Tinker Toys. These days, we use Legos. Watch any little kid learning anything new. And they look up and they say, Mom, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa, Auntie, Uncle. You mean it's like this is like that. So it is built into us, this idea of connection. Now, you use the word association, which is also talked about. It's often talked about in memory development. I'm not crazy about the word association because it doesn't give you a clear enough picture. The word I like, as I've said, is connection, because everybody can understand connection. This is connected to that. And so that's the first thing. You need to learn how to connect stuff together. So you're connecting a new thing you're learning to something you already have. All right. Now, what do you connect? Well, the greatest power that human beings have is creativity, is imagination. You had a guest on recently, Liam, that talked about that idea of where does creativity come from. And he talks about there's a separate section of your brain. Well, imagination is the source of all creation. It first exists as some sort of an image in your head. Well, I teach people how to make images out of names. So let's do this really quick.
Okay.
So if I meet somebody with the same name, or if you meet somebody with the same name as your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, you don't have to do anything special. Your mind instantaneously goes, Pat, my dad's name was Pat. Click.
Yep.
That is just a way that our Creator built us. We're always looking for those connections, for those, this is like that. Oh, like my brother. Oh, like my good friend. Oh, like that character on TV.
Interesting.
All right, so that's the first way. The second way is the name already has a meaning. My name is Matt. I'm always a welcome Matt. In high school, I was a wrestling Matt. My buddy from Canada, from Quebec, always called me Matador. And back when I was single, I would say, yes, Matt adores the girls and the girls adore Matt. And so, but Ruby, Rose, Bill, Art, those are all names that have a built-in meaning. You just need to listen for them. Okay, so you already know somebody with a name, and the name already has a picture, already has a meaning. The third thing is rhyming. So Anna Banana, Skinny Vinny, Keith has nice teeth. Fat Matt ate a rat, then he sat on a cat. Now, isn't that what little children do on the playground now?
That's right. Always have.
Why? Where does that come from? Now, are they making fun of somebody? No, they're not making fun. They're joking around. They're goofing around. They're having fun with the name. Yeah, sometimes kids are cruel and they'll make fun, but that's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And so these are things, and I talk about the concept of natural learning. These are things that God built into us when he created us. You don't have to teach a little kid to rhyme somebody's funny name. They just do it.
True. That's true.
So now we've got three of the four ways of making a picture. So you know somebody with the name already has a meaning, you can rhyme the name. The fourth is what I use for names that are extremely difficult, like the guy that came to my home recently. And so you listen to the sound of the name and see if it reminds you of something else. And this is the same technique that I use to remember foreign language vocabulary. I speak a few words in a lot of different languages because when you understand that you can equate the sound of a word to something else, then all of a sudden, new words don't become so challenging to you. You can use it with medical jargon. You can use it with scientific vocabulary. If you're studying for a particular exam,
I know that just came to
Series 7.
LSAT or the MCAT.
Absolutely. I've got so
Yeah.
many students of mine that take the LSAT or the MCAT or the Series 6 and Series 7, and they come to my YouTube channel to learn, how to be smarter, faster, because that's what I teach. And I give away a lot of this information for free at youtube.com/be smarter, faster, where I teach you how to be smarter, faster. And
Love it.
this idea of being able to make a something else, some other silly picture out of somebody's name. So the guy who came to my home, Bima Zubute. All right. So I'm listening. So I'm listening to the sound of this. Okay, so Bima. All right. So that's the first part. Well, you could think of like a Beamer, like a BMW. But then all of a sudden, that Elvis Presley song got stuck in my head. Bima Zubute, Viva Las
Vegas.
It's that it's the rhythm. And your kids, how is it that kids can remember all of the lyrics of their favorite rap song and yet can't remember their poetry homework? Well, it's the same thing, isn't it? Well, you've all heard the expression, no, there's no rhyme or reason. And so rhyme and also rhythm help you when you learn things.
That's true.
So there's my the four ways of making an
so
image.
Interesting that you're saying this, Matt. I have to say, when I was a little girl, I had issues remembering my times tables when it was back when you learned the times tables. And my dad, smart that he was, had noticed that I had this love of music and singing. So he made the times tables into a song. And so we did all the ones, twos, threes, fours, fives, because back then you went from 1 to 12 in the little square and this times this. And he made it a song for me, each and every single one. And I didn't actually memorize the timetables. I memorized the song that was in my head, and it associated that. And that's when it clicked for me. And I just found what you just said so interesting. I haven't thought of that since it happened. I mean, when I was a little girl. And now I was like, oh, that's so interesting. The association between poetry and rap music. And here's my poetry homework, but this rap song I know. And I was thinking to myself, isn't it weird when you're older and you're listening to the oldies radio shows and a song that you haven't heard for like 25 years pops on and you know all the words because you're singing along with it, just like you've heard it 100 times over the last week. And I think this is part of the association model that you're using that just sparked how good memory actually is, and that it's actually a skill set, not something you gain or lose, but something you exercise or ignore.
With what you just said, you actually kind of gave me a follow-up to your song story.
Yeah.
And also about learning the math times tables, because for me, that left me with a permanent scar on the subject of math. And it wasn't until I was much older that I was able to get over this math phobia that I had because of the way I had to learn it was rote repetition. Well, one of the things that I teach, and because I do a lot on how to remember numbers, numerical information is all over the place. And so how do you remember numerical information? Well, I actually have a video training course on the subject called An Incredible Memory. And one of the things that I do is I make numbers, especially for little kids, I make numbers into cartoons. So 0 is a basketball, 1 is a baseball bat, 2 is a swan, 3 is a butterfly, and so on. Well, number 8 is a snowman. And number 6 is a cherry. Can you see that number 6? You've got the number 6, you got the stem, and then you can see the cherry.
Yeah.
And 7 is a candy cane.
Of course.
9 is a tennis racket.
Oh.
And so when I teach the multiplication times tables to small children, and one of the things I teach parents to do is I say, look, you don't need to do this with every one, but there are some with the 7s, 8s, and 9s. Usually it's the 7s and 8s. The 7s and the 8s are usually the hardest ones for people. And so I went, all right, so here's how you do it. The children will remember the story way sooner than they'll remember the actual arithmetic. So Daddy Snowman and Mommy Snowman were eating cherries on a sailboat. 8 times 8 is 64. So now when I draw out the number 4, you can see that the top part of the 4 looks like the sail, and then you can see then I put a little boat underneath it. And so Daddy Snowman and Mommy Snowman, what were they doing? Oh yeah, they were eating cherries, 6, on a sailboat, 64. Daddy Snowman went out walking with his candy cane. So now 8 times 7. So Daddy Snowman is out walking with a candy cane, and he comes across a snake, which is number 5. And the way eating his cherries. So 56. So Daddy Snowman is out with his cane, and he comes across a snake eating his cherries. And Daddy Snowman gets really upset, and he grabs his cane. Oh, you ratty snake, stop eating my cherries. That's something that even the smallest child can remember. Now, going back to your story about the song. So the way we learned the alphabet was with a song. And if I asked you, what's the name of the song that you learn the alphabet to? Most people go, well, the alphabet song. Well, you know that song by at least 2 other names. You know what they are?
ABCs.
Okay, the name of that song is Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, or Ba Ba Black Sheep.
You're right.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, Ba Ba Black Sheep, have you any? Well, by the way, that was written by Mozart. All right, so
brilliant.
So we learn the ABCs forwards by using a song. So when my daughter was just learning how to walk, how to talk, and I would take her to the park with me when I'd go take my exercise, and my little girl would tag along. She was just learning how to talk, and she was, when we were singing songs and doing goofy stuff. I taught her how to recite the alphabet backwards using the song Three Blind Mice. So Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, O, N, M, L, K, J, I, H, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. And so
amazing.
So now here's what happened. I wanted our daughter to attend a really good preschool, and there was a waiting list to get into this preschool, and you had to actually pass an interview. So my wife and my daughter are flanking our little girl, and the headmistress of the school was sitting across from us. Can your daughter get dressed? Sweetie, tell the lady. Yes, I can even tie my sneakers. Good. Does she know the colors? Yes. Sweetie, tell her the colors in the rainbow. Can she count? Sweetie, count for the lady. Does she know the alphabet? Sweetie, yes, she does. She knows the alphabet forwards and backwards. And the lady went, excuse me? And I said, my daughter can recite the alphabet forwards and backwards. She went, what? I said, sweetie, recite the alphabet backwards for the lady. And without any effort at all, she went Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, O, N, M, L, K, J, I, H, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. And with that, the woman nearly fell backwards out of her chair. Well, on the way, obviously we got into that school. Well, on the way out, I turned to my little girl and I asked her, I said, do you know why the woman that runs the school, did you happen to notice her reaction when you did the alphabet? And she, in her babyish little way, said, kind of like, yeah, the lady looked pretty freaked out. No kidding. And I said, do you know why? And she didn't have a clue, because what she did was perfectly natural to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, let me tell you what you just did. You did something she can't do. You see,
Beautiful. Yep.
you think that because you're little and that everybody's bigger than you, that somehow they're better than you are, or somehow that they're smarter than you are. No. Even you as a little girl, you're already able to do stuff that not just one of the teachers, but the woman who runs her whole school, you just did something she can't do. So I always want you to understand how fast you learn things. So from the time my daughter was really little, I instilled in her the concept, you learn things fast. And
Yes.
every time she did stuff, I would go, see how fast you learn that? So her identity is, I'm just somebody that learns things fast.
Oh my
And
gosh.
as a
Oh
result,
my gosh. It's so much easier to have that input as a concept than it is, because I know, to get
I
over the lie they
struggle. Oh
tell
my
you.
gosh.
The lie is, it could take 30 years or control your whole life. It's not true. Oh God, I love this. This is fascinating. Matt, I have one question, and I'm not sure if I want to go back to the what I call association, the connection piece. Why is it that when you tell the story of the snowman and you talk about the snowman and the candy cane and then the cherries and then the sailing boat, etc., why is it that kids remember that more easily? Because to me, they're both remembering that 8 times 8 is 64, and then mommy's snowman and daddy's snowman. And
Easy answer.
what is that? What is that?
One has a meaning, the other one doesn't.
So it's our
So
sense of meaning that helps us remember?
you're able to process it. 8
Yes.
times 8 is 64 is a concept, is
Yeah.
some is
It's ethereal.
you can't, that's a good word, but it's you can't grasp it. It's like fog.
That's
You
right.
can't grasp it. It doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean it's not real, but you can't get a handle on it.
A concept
Where
that has meaning becomes real,
you
and a
need to
concept
be
without
able,
meaning is ethereal and you can't grasp it as well.
let's go back to what I
Interesting.
said before. It's all about connection.
Yeah,
You
it's
have no
how you
you have
connect
no
to it.
personal connection to it.
Yeah.
Great question.
What
Nobody's ever asked me that before.
Well, thank you. But what I'm interested in is because I just realized that a lot of people's self-esteem issues aren't issues at all. They're not, whether you're depressed about yourself or this, it's literally the concept you hold of yourself, which you can shape any way you want now. And understanding that you have the power to shape who you are, a lot of people don't want to accept that responsibility. But as we take a look at the ability to create the world you want, the business you want, the life you want, or, as parents out there, I just want you to listen to what he said to his daughter, because you are breathing in their own inner genius and connecting them to their own inner genius, which every parent wants, but we fail to point out sometimes the natural. I thought that story was really beautiful, by the way. There's two things that happen when you empower to go, you're taller than me, you're bigger than me, doesn't mean you're smarter than me. And I can use my own awareness and my own discernment, which in kids is a lot stronger than when we get to be adults. And then you instill the ability to say, yeah, I learn things effortlessly and easily. And now as adults, if we don't get that when we're young, we now have affirmations. I learn things effortlessly and easily. I learn everything. And we say it over and over and over, even if we don't believe it. And there's no association to that. And what I was looking at, Matt, was that key thing right there. that is, I get it when it's in a kid, but how can we flip it when it's an adult? How can you actually get to the point where you realize that the concept you hold of yourself, the meaning that you give things, the actual presence, whether you think it's important or not, is actually the thing that is shaping your reality and your ability to achieve success and those things that you want by simply engaging your memory versus saying you don't have one. Do you understand the question I'm asking? It's a big, deep question.
Well, I have a technique that I teach. As a matter of fact, it's on one of my videos on how to get your affirmations into your subconscious.
Oh, God, that's fantastic.
All right, so now this is going to sound a little out there, but just
Oh, let's do it though, because I love
stay with
out
me.
there.
All right, so
And I'm going to let him shine during this, you guys. I'll see you in a minute.
All right, so you know that Shakespeare wrote, "The eyes are the windows to the soul." And you know when you're having a conversation with somebody, your level of communication gets ever so more deep when you're able to look somebody in the eye. Now, while we're here on this on this podcast, if I were not looking at you and I'm talking to you like this, I break connection with you, don't I? But when I look you in the eye and you're looking back at me in the eye, even though it's through this camera, you feel a connection. Why is that? So we know that there's something about the eyes that allow you to connect more deeply with somebody. So I teach a technique called the mirror technique. So when you've got your affirmations, first of all, make sure that they're short and positive and you can visualize them. But now, if you want to supercharge your affirmations, do them in front of a mirror. Get really close to the mirror and look into the mirror and stare in one of your eyes. Now, you'll discover that you can't look at two eyes at the same time. You'll go back and forth between them really quick. So what you need to do is pick one eye. And I recommend that you may have a dominant eye, but for the most part, I like to stare into my left eye. And so what you can do is, as you're staring into your eyes, into your eye, now repeat your affirmations to yourself. Because you're going to, we all know this expression, you're going to give yourself a good talking to. Think about this for a second. Who is the you you're talking to? So there.
I love this. I love this. I'm just going to share a secret while you've been doing that. I do that every day. I get up in the morning, on the way to the bathroom, look in the mirror, look at me, look at my eye, and I say, I love you, and good things are coming your way today. Good things are coming your way today. Every single day, set that intention, set that tone. I love you and good things are coming your way. And I'm with you. I look in this eye. You're right. When you get in there, you can't see both us. You're like, okay. Just focus on that one eye and get in there. And when I've done something and achieved a success, I go into the bathroom. I mean, when it's really, and I have a mirror and I look in the mirror and I say, see, you did it. You always could. And I parent myself mostly because I had weird parenting, but parenting yourself in that way, it generates self-love and it generates confidence. And the thing that I realized while you were talking was that I was breathing confidence into myself by parenting myself in that way. And I call it parenting myself, even though you're right, it was an affirmation. Good things are coming my way. Good things are coming your way today. Good things are coming your way today. Say that every morning to myself. I love you. Good things are coming your way today. And that repeated message, I really believe that every day something good is coming my way. And I love me and I feel confident. And I think that's so interesting. It's like we often look in the mirror, especially women. I'm talking to you right now. You are instilling your own harm when you're like, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I have wrinkles, I have this. You are literally looking in the mirror and doing what he said. You're putting them inside your soul. What you say to yourself is so important. And it's just like there's no difference what he said to his daughter that you say to yourself. And that parenting yourself is, if you wouldn't say it to your child, don't say it to yourself. I love this, Matt. Matt, this is amazing. It's absolutely, and we're getting to the top of the hour, and I get that. Let's say I want to work with Matt, and everybody, you can go get his book. I am going to put in the comments right now for us any of the first website, then name of the book again, and I'm going to be typing, and you're going to be telling us.
Okay.
Right. Where can they get a hold of you?
So the first thing I want people to do is to be able to access all my free material, because people love the word free, and you can really get a lot of great content at my YouTube channel. YouTube.com/be smarter faster.
Hang on.
If you want to learn how to be smarter faster, youtube.com/be smarter faster. Now,
I'm just going to go pull it up. YouTube.com. Be smart. I'm just going to go. Hang on. Spell your name for me. DiMiaio.
No. You don't need my name. Just go to youtube.com. Right in your address bar. You're not going to search for it.
Yep.
In your address bar, youtube.com, and then put a /
Got it.
B
as in B-E or B?
B as in B-E. Like I'm going to be smarter.
Got it.
Faster.
I'm with you. Be smarter, faster. Bam! Okay.
Holy mackerel, I didn't lie.
Oh, you started.
I can hear it.
There it is.
They're out there, B.
Yeah.
All right. Now, for those of you that what I've said here really makes sense, and you want to get some training where you want to be good, not just at people's names, but you want to be able to eliminate forgetfulness in your life. You put down your keys, your wallet, your eyeglasses, and you got to play treasure hunt in the house to try and find them.
Yeah.
You're on your way to work, and you have to take that important report with you, and you're halfway to work and you remember you left it on your desk. You park your car in a crowded lot, and you come out of the store and you fly into a panic, you don't know where you parked.
Where did I park?
If you want to eliminate that, I'm going to show you how to do that. If you want to be able to have unbelievable recall of all sorts of numerical information, where you can go into any business meeting and be able to quote the profit and loss statistics and the stock market information and part numbers and inventory control and percentages and things you learn from the news, I teach all of that in a very streamlined video training course at anincrediblememory.com. You want to have anincrediblememory.com.
Got it. Anincrediblememory.com.
How are you going to remember that? I want an incredible memory. I like Matt. I like that.
Love it.
And then on Amazon, I have 3 books on Amazon. I have my book on how to remember people's names, and you'll find that on Amazon. I also have a book called Forgetful No More, where all I talk about is, how to, find your keys, your wallet, your eyeglasses, your remote, your cell phone. So all of that. And then I have a book exclusively for students or those who have to take online classes called Straight A Strategies for Successful Online Learning. And
it's interesting because I'm looking at them all. How to remember people's names, Straight A Strategies for Successful Online Learning, Forgetful No More. It's all on his Amazon page. You just type his name in and all his books pop up. I'm going to follow you, by the way. Wonderful. I subscribe to your channel on YouTube because it's just so fascinating. It's fascinating. Be smarter, faster. Learn everything faster and easier. Who doesn't want to do that? Come on.
Exactly.
I know. It's like there. So it's just youtube.com/be smarter faster, and how to have an incredible memory. An incredible memory. Who doesn't want to have that either? Brilliant, brilliant. This is all the places that you can connect with him. And here's the thing: everybody wants to hear the thing, show me the money. How do I make more money? How do I do this? There are skill sets to money. And one of the most important skill sets to money, success, love, connection, and everything you want is memory and paying attention, being mindful. And these skills are subtle skills. They're not how to close the sale skills. Those are just close the sales skills. But your soft skills, your subtle skills, those are the ones that help you close the sale. They're the one that help you get the next career promotion. They're the one that help you make and close that, connection with somebody who's going to partner with you or do a joint venture with you. All of those things happen by the single skill set that he is teaching you right now. And today we talk so much about the skill set itself that we didn't get to talk about so much about how it improves your life. Now, here's the thing. Everybody talks about personal development. This is a personal development self-help skill. If you can talk into your own confidence, your own greatness, if you can unearth your own inner genius by tapping into your gifts, wouldn't you want to do that? So go right now, go to his YouTube channel and get that subscription. Go get one of his books, start using it. If you want to make a difference in your world right now, this is one of the key tools and success skills that you can have. Matt, I just want to say, this has been so much fun. I'm so happy you were on the show today. It was so incredible. And I don't worry, I'm bringing him back. We'll have him back. We'll talk about this again. I know there are other shows we can put him on, but that has been such an incredible day with you. Thank you for appearing on the Coffee Break Show with me today. I can't say I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Vickie, this has been a tremendous pleasure for me too. And I want everybody to know in your audience that everything I teach takes a little bit of work and effort, but it's worth it. Always remember that the fastest way to get to the top is to get off your bottom.
That's right. All right. We'll see you next week where we were going to have another fantastic guest on the Coffee Break Show. We'll see you next week.